Okay, here we go. Chapter 4 of Exodus. And God has called on Moses, and now Vaya'an Moshe, Moses is going to respond. Vaya'an Moshe, Vayomer, Vehain lo ya'aminu li, velo yishma'u b'koli, ki yomru lo nir'a elecha Adonai. We left off last week where God has said to Moses, go and call together the elders of Israel, and all of you together go to Pharaoh and say, we saw God. And the elders said, what are you telling us? We didn't see God. And so now Moses is going to be responding. Vaya'an Moshe, Moses responded, Vayomer, and he said, Vehain lo ya'aminu li. And thus, or behold, thus, uh, lo ya'aminu li, they will not believe me. They will not, literally, they will not believe to me or have faith to me. V'lo yishma'u b'koli, and they will not listen to my voice.
Where's the not there?
Lo, right here. Lo yishma'u.
Oh, it's
No. But
oh, I
isn't
see.
but what is the inu? Isn't that or new? Isn't that us?
Ya'aminu. No, the root word is amen.
Amen.
And the new?
So it's not lo ya'ami nu, but lo ya'amin u.
Oh,
It's like yishma u.
Yeah. But I'm still not seeing the low part because the other one appears to the other part of it, the not appear.
The low is
Where's
the first word.
Lo
no, not that one.
ya'aminu,
Afterwards, after that.
and then the lo yishma u.
Okay.
The end of the first line. There's
Oh,
two
I see.
in the first line.
I got it.
Lo
Thank you.
ya'aminu, velo yishma'u. They will not believe me and they will not listen. Bekoli, literally with my voice or in my voice, but they will not heed my voice. Ki yomru, for they will say, again, these are all future third person plural. They will say, Lo nir'ah elecha Adonai. They will say, Lo nir'ah did not appear to us, to you, Adonai. They will say, God did not appear to you. They won't believe me that God appeared to you.
What is appear is
Nir'ah, the passive of ro'eh, see. He was not seen. Was not seen to you, did not appear to you. This whole process, by the way, of God appearing to Moses, did Moses immediately understand that this was God? Did Moses take some time? Even after Moses realized that it was God, how does Moses convince other people? Is a theme that's taken through the movie that I often have used for adult study, for confirmation study, for college interfaith study, called Oh God.
That's a good one.
Is that a comedy?
It's a comedy with George Burns
Yeah.
and John Denver. And I take it through a three-part series with people where the first part is God, George Burns has to convince John Denver that it's really God talking to him.
That's
The
a
next
good one.
part is John Denver has to figure out who he's going to tell and how he's going to convince them. And then the third part is what do they do with it once they believe? So it's really the same process Moses is going through. God appears to Moses. Moses then has to convince other people. Then they have to figure out what do they do with this. So that's where we are now in our story. They're not going to believe me. They're going to say God didn't appear to you. How am I supposed to convince them that God appeared to me? Verse 2. Vayomer elav Adonai. So now God says to, or why, Yud He Vav He says to him, and then the Torah text simply has those three letters, but the reading of it as as if there was 4 letters and it was 2 words. So the Torah text simply says those 3 letters, but we read mazeh. What is this? So Vayomer Elav Adonai mazeh v'yadecha Vayomer mateh. So God says to Moses, what's that in your hand? Mazeh, what is this? V'yadecha, in your hand. Vayomer, and Moses says, mateh, a staff, a stick, a walking cane, however you wish to translate that particular word.
Where does it say Moses says?
It doesn't. It's Vayomer, and he said. But God says to him,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
one would assume that the next thing is he responds.
I see. And he says a stick.
And he says, a staff, a stick, a walking cane.
Doesn't that word need a article? Like
What?
the word mazeh?
Mazeh.
Mazeh.
Mazeh is what? Mazeh this.
Oh. No, yeah, no, I'm looking. No, I'm looking at the next line. Mate. Stick.
Mateh is a staff or a stick.
Yeah. But doesn't a word like that need an article like ma?
Only if it was a definite article, then it would be, he says, the stick.
Hmm.
But here he's saying a stick, a staff,
So no
and
article.
an ordinary walking cane,
Mhm.
a tool of the shepherding trade.
Mhm.
Verse 3, Vayomer hashlichehu artsa, vayashlichehu artsa, vayhi lenachash, vayanos Moshe mipanav. Verse 3, so Vayomer, now he says, and so we're reading this without the need for nouns. We can have pronouns because it's a back and forth dialogue. It starts with God says, and Moses says, and now God says. God says, Hashlichehu artsa, throw it to the ground, send it forth, literally. Shalach is send out or send forth. Hashlichehu is the causative form of the verb to send out. That is, cause it to be sent, artsa, toward the ground. So often translated as throw it to the ground, like tashlich, when we throw our stuff into the water. But we're really not throwing it, we're sending it forth. That's the shalach, send forth. So send it to the ground. Vayashlichehu, now hashlichehu is the imperative, the command. Send it to the ground. Vayashlichehu artsa, and he sent it to the ground. So God says, throw it down, and Moses threw it down. And when he threw it down, vayehi, and it was, lenachash, as a snake. Nachash is a serpent or a snake. So he throws his staff down and suddenly it starts wiggling around like a snake. Vayanos Moshe mipanav, and Moses ran away from before it. So he throws his staff down and it's like a snake and he runs away. He says, that's not right.
Which is run away?
Vayanos, he fled. Nas is to flee.
Before. So it's from it, right? Isn't it
Yes,
from it?
mipanav, from the face, literally from its face, from before it. So he backs up. He flees backwards. For Vayomer Adonai El Moshe, now we're making sure we're in the right back and forth dialogue. Vayomer Adonai El Moshe, Shalach Yadcha, Ve'echoz Biznavo, Vayishlach Yado, Vayachazek Bo, Vayehi Lemate Bechapo. So Vayomer Adonai El Moshe, now God says back to Moses, Shalach Yadcha, literally send forth your hand. Reach out. Send forth your hand. Ve'echoz biznavo. Echos is to grasp, to grab onto, hold on to. So ve'echos, again, in the imperative in the command, grasp biz navo, literally bi, in, zanav, tail, o, its. So grab its tail. Vayishlach yado, and he sent forth his hand. Vayechazek bo. Here now, interesting switch. Before it said hashlichehu vayashlichehu. The words were parallel. Send it forth, send it forth. Here, however, when it says echos, grasp its tail, what does Moses do? He chazek its tail, which means he really held on to it strongly. He didn't just grasp it, he grabbed it really hard, really strong.
And what's yado again? I'm sorry.
His hand, yad.
Oh yeah, right. Thank you.
So he sends forth his hand and he really puts a crushing grip on the tail of that snake. And behold, and it was like a staff again in his palm. Chaf is palm. Bichapo in his palm. So God's teaching him some rudimentary Egyptian magic.
What does the bow mean after he vaya hasek?
Vayachazek bow. He holds on really tight in it, literally in it or
In it.
with it. So it's tail. So it's wiggling around. God says, grasp onto its tail, and he really grabs hard onto the tail. Chazak, strong.
Mhm.
5. Lama'an ya'aminu chi nir'a elecha Adonai Elohei avotam, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov. And you're going to do this, Lama'an, in order that Ya'aminu, they will believe. Ki nir'a elecha Adonai, for has appeared to you Adonai, Elohei Avotam, the God of your fathers, your ancestors. Elohei Avraham, the God of Abraham. Elohei Yitzchak, the God of Isaac. Elohei Yaakov, and the God of Jacob. I don't recall anywhere in Genesis where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob learned from God to throw staffs on the ground and turn them into snakes.
They
However,
left that
somehow
out.
doing this magic trick is supposed to prove to everybody that God appeared to him.
Have we seen Adonai Elohei before? Is that
Yes,
putting Adonai and Eloheinu together?
yes. We're seeing it a lot in priestly material. The
What
red priestly material is going to be Adonai Elohim. The blue priestly material won't be Adonai until God actually says to Moses, now you can start calling me Adonai. So this is a whole bunch of historical God language and God research of the gods of the ancient Near East and their various names, and the question of who is Yud He Vav He, where did Yud He Vav He come from, and Elohim is often therefore the generic gods or the generic God title as opposed to Yud He Vav He, which is the Israelite God title or God name.
But the use of Elohei as a adjective or something.
Right. That's very common now, moving forward.
But it wasn't before, right? This is new.
Well, I mean, we have in Genesis where God appears to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and at one point Jacob says, "The God of my father Abraham and the God of my father." So we do have it,
Uh-huh.
but not as frequent.
Mhm.
Verse 6. Vayomer Adonai lo, od have na yadcha bechekecha, v'yave yado becheko, vayotzia v'hine yado mitzoraat kashaleg. And again, that shaleg, it tells you you're at the end of a phrase, a sentence. That's sheleg and then shaleg, like geffen and gafen, eretz and aretz, all of those. So now Moses has learned a magic trick and has been told that if you do this magic trick, throw the staff on the ground and it will become a serpent, then everybody will believe that you saw me. And then God says in 6, now here's another magic trick. Vayomer Adonai lo od. So God is going to say to him, to Moses, more. Now another trick I can teach you. Havena yadcha bechekecha. Have from the root bow, but in the causative form of the verb, cause to come. And then God is very polite with Moses. Havena, cause to come, please, or bring. Yadcha, your hand. Bechekecha, in your chest. In other words, put it inside your garment against your chest. Vayave yado becheko. And again, parallel language, Moses does it. And he caused to come, or he put, or he brought yado, his hand, becheko, in his chest, against his chest. Vayotzia, and then he brought it out. He sent it out. He took it out. Vayotzi, again, caused to bring forth, like motzi, he brought forth. The ending here is it, feminine, because yad is a feminine noun. So he put his hand in and he pulled his hand out. Vihine, and behold, yado mitzoraat kashaleg, and his hand, mitzoraat, mitzorah, like we will learn later in Leviticus, is some kind of affliction, skin ailment, illness, often translated later as leprosy. But mitzorah is really more of a skin affliction, not necessarily a leprosy. And he brings out his hand, and it's an affliction, a skin affliction, kashaleg, like snow. So he puts his hand into his chest, and he comes out with lots of white flakes. Chest dandruff. Vayomer hashev yadcha el chekecha, vayashev yado el cheko, vayotzia mecheko, v'hine shava kivsaro. So verse 7, Vayomer, and he says, this is God again saying to Moses, as we follow back and forth in the dialogue. God says, do it. Moses does it. God says again, now do it. Hashev yadcha el chekecha, return, from the word shuv, return. Hashev is the causative, cause to return. In other words, put it back. And hashev yadcha, put your hand back, el cheko, to your chest. Vayashev yado, and he returned his hand, el cheko, to his chest. Vayotzia, and then he brings it out again, just like the last one, he brings it out again, mecheko, from his chest. V'hine, behold, now this time, shava kivsaro, it has returned, shav, again, return, shava kivsaro, it has returned as his flesh. In other words, it's back to normal. So Moses has learned now 2 magic tricks to prove that God appeared to him.
Can you just do that one again
Yes.
returned his hand to his chest, and
Behold, behold, Shava Chiv Saro. So it has returned, Shava, return, Ki as Basar, flesh, O it, or his.
okay, thank you.
So it's no longer white flaky stuff that he got out of his chest, but just regular flesh. So his flesh has returned to normal.
Where do you see it?
Oh, the ending, it or his.
Oh, his. Why wouldn't it be his?
Well, because there's no it. Everything is masculine or feminine. But is it his flesh or is the flesh the it that's returned to normal?
Oh,
So often when we have a him or her, in English we would say it because it's an inanimate or non-human model.
but it doesn't mean his flesh.
Yeah, well, it's his flesh or its flesh. That is it the breast's, the chest's flesh, or is it Moses's flesh? Doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. But just in translation, we have to remember that the third person singular can be him, her, or it. So two magic tricks. Throw a staff down, turn into a snake, grab onto its tail, turn into a staff. Second magic trick, put your hand in your chest, out comes white flaky stuff. Put your hand in again, out comes normal flesh. And the culmination of all this, the haya im lo aminu lach, the lo yishma'u lekol ha'ot harishon, the ha'aminu lekol ha'ot ha'acharon. So now Moses has begun this whole thing with saying, so they're not going to believe that I actually saw you, that you appeared to me. And God says, okay, I'm going to give you two signs that I did appear to you. One is the serpent staff, the other is the magic healing flesh, or illnessing flesh followed by healing flesh, afflicting flesh and then healing flesh. V'haya, and it will be im lo ya'aminu lach, and it will be that if they do not believe you, and again, ya'aminu, they believe, amin is the root, so ya'amin u, if they do not believe lach you, v'lo yishma'u lekol ha'ot harishon, and if they do not listen to the voice of the sign of the first one. So they don't believe you and they don't hear yishma'u, while we often translate as listen, shama can be equally translated as pay heed. So if they do not pay heed to the voice of the first sign, the aminu lekol ha'ot ha'achron, then they will believe in the voice of the after sign, the other sign, acharon, the later. So we have rishon and acharon, first and last. They don't like the alpha sign, they're going to like the omega sign.
The Ha'aron is the other sign?
Well, acharon is the other.
Okay.
Acher
So that's what
is
Aaron's
another.
name is? Aharon, the other?
Acharon, the one who, not acharon with a hey, but acharon with a chet. They don't like the first sign, they like the last sign.
And the Ha'ot is the
The ha'ot is the sign.
Oh, the sign.
Ha'ot harishon, the first sign. Ha'ot ha'acharon, the other sign, or the last sign, or the next sign.
Okay, thank you. It's funny, I don't
So
remember
is-
this
so
thing
is the
about
word-
the hand
does the-
coming out. I don't remember that at all. This in
Yeah, that's
in learning.
again, that's a little bit here. It is often when people look at this particular parasha and they look at the Moses miracles that God gives him, they do get they we are told of, but it doesn't happen again. It's not like Moses goes and does that sign for Pharaoh or Israel or whatever. And later, who's going to throw the staff down and become a snake?
Aaron.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And Aaron apparently didn't learn the afflicting flesh magic trick.
is the word voice, coal, also used for sign?
No, oat is sign.
Oat.
Kol is voice of the sign.
Oh,
So he's doing this, what, at the very, very beginning before all this stuff happens?
So exactly the question. What is the order of events in the first 6 chapters of Exodus?
Mm.
And the answer, as with many other places, is what order would you like? Because as I mentioned off screen, but I'll mention now, when we come to chapter 6, we're going to get all of chapter 4 and 5 pretty much is the red story. Chapter 6 is the blue story and starts all over again. And we get Moses and God giving Moses the task that God has already given Moses in chapters 4 and 5. But chapter 4 and 5 are the red version of the task, and chapter 6 and 7 are going to be the blue version of the task.
Wow.
And in both cases, the task is to go to convince the people and Pharaoh that God is on Moses' side. So here is the sign that God did appear to Moses, or the 2 signs. And will people pay attention? Literally, kol ha'oth, the voice of the sign.
why
But
do
in
you
other
think?
words, the idea or the image of the sign, the presentation, one could read kol as a presentation.
But where's the Pharaoh's name in any of this?
There's no fact. This is, first of all, this is God telling Moses how to convince the Israelites.
Oh, so he's practicing.
Yeah, he's saying, I'm going to go to the Israelites. I'm going to tell them that you appeared to me. And they're going to say that was way up at the beginning. Moses says, what if they don't believe me?
I got it.
And it's the they don't, not he doesn't. So this is the Israelite elders, not Pharaoh.
Why do you think they use the word listen to something which is visual?
Pay attention because in Hebrew, the Shema is not simply listening or hearing, but it's paying attention to.
But the voice, the word voice is there.
Exactly. So one could say that this is a mixed metaphor. One could say that this is a taking of the various senses and putting them into these kinds of powerful statements. Listen to the sign, heed the sign,
Mhm.
but we also will have see the smell.
Mm.
We'll have listen to the vision. So there's a sort of a cross-sensory experience going on. When we deal with God, we have cross-sensory experiences.
Unless we're more limited today than we were in the past.
It
Through
could be,
evolution.
or we try to be more exact. You only see things that have a photon connected to them, whereas you hear things that have a sound wave connected to them. But there we can see the sound waves and we can hear the photons.
Since you're a movie guy, I always thought that what is it? Monsoon Wedding, that I could see the smell.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
could see the heat and the
You could see the
humidity.
heat. Yeah.
And that's what we're being told to do, which makes it more powerful when in modern English teachers they would call about mixed metaphors.
Mhm.
And one of the classics is, of course, in Shakespeare, in Hamlet's speech, where he says to take arms against a sea of troubles,
Yeah.
when it should have been to take arms against a host of troubles.
Mm.
but it becomes more powerful that way. All right, next week, it goes on. And again, the translation will be there for you. And naturally, God has said, I've given you two sides. If they don't like one, they'll like the other. And Moses says, what if they don't like either one? So that will continue our story in chapter 4. Here's the reading for next week. Verse 9. V'haya im lo ya'aminu gam lishnei ha'otot ha'ele, v'lo yishma'u l'kolecha, v'lakachta mimeimei ha'yaor, v'shafachta hayabasha, v'hayu hamayim asher tikach min hayaor, v'hayu lidam bayabashet. And the yabasha, the dryness, the dry land, the dryness, at the end of a phrase becomes yabashet. Again, like eretz, aretz, we change some of our vocalization to let people know that we've come to the end of a reading. So we're reading along. Mimei hayaor v'shafachta hayabasha v'haya hamayim asher tikach min hayaor v'hayu ledam bayabashet. And we strengthen it out to say, end of the sentence. Verse 10. Vayomer Moshe El Adonai, Be Adonai. And notice here the Adonai is actually spelled out, which does not happen often when we're talking about God's name. But here Moses is saying, my Lord, not Yud He Vav He. Be Adonai, Lo Ish Devarim Anochi, Gam Mitmol, Gam Mishilshom, Gam Me'az Dabercha El Avdecha, Ki Chavad Peh Uchvad Lashon Anochi. This is Moses's protestation about his speech impediment. 11. Vayomer Adonai Elav, Mi Sam Peh LaAdam, O Mi Yasum Ilem, O Cheresh, O Pikeach, O Iver, Halo Anochi Adonai. So who gives speech, who takes away, who's in charge of everything? Is God's question back to Moses in 11. 12. Va'ata lech va'anochi ehyeh im picha v'horeiticha asher tedaber. 13. Vayomer bi Adonai shalachna biyad tishlach. 14. Vayichar af Adonai b'Moshe, Vayomer halo Aharon achicha halevi yadati kidaber yedaber hu, v'gam hine hu yotze likratecha v'ra'acha v'samach belibo. So Aaron finally enters the picture in verse 14, and notice Aaron is Halevi. Moshe is not called Halevi anywhere in this point before up since Moses was born to a Levi and a Levi woman. But Aharon is now called Halevi Achicha. In the red story, one of the questions we'll face among the many is this Aaron, your brother, literally the Levite, or is this Aaron, your brethren, the Levite? Just a little spoiler on some of the kinds of things we'll have to wrestle with through this story as we go through the red story, before we even go back and retrace the blue story, before we can go forward and then move forward against Pharaoh.
Well, depending on traveling situations, I might be coming back from Florida that time next
All right.
week.
We will be meeting next Sunday online as usual. We will not be meeting the following Sunday on the 8th, and then we will pick it up after that. So we're going to be left next week with the cliffhanger of here comes Aaron. You're gonna have to wait 2 weeks to find out what happens between Moses and Aaron.
Try to hold on.
Yes.
Yes.